You ever have one of those days where you realize you've wandered straight into a showdown you never wanted, but now that you're standing there, you're not going anywhere? That was me, staring down the so-called queen of the HOA, hands on her hips, mouth curled into that smug smile, like she just knew she was about to ruin my day. You can't be here, she barked, jabbing her finger at my freshly restored lake cabin. Right behind her, two dudes in what had to be knockoff police uniforms climbed out of a black SUV. Get this, with flashing lights literally taped to the dashboard. I just stood there, didn't say a word, just taking it all in, because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that folks who come in loud usually don't have much to stand on. The lake behind her was shining, dead calm, the kind of peaceful that makes you forget for a second that chaos is about to bust through your front door. One of those fake cops barked, "Sir, this property is under HOA control. You need to vacate immediately." I almost laughed in his face. "Show control?" I asked slow and low. "This land sat empty for 30 years. I bought it fair and square." That set her off. She crossed her arms, chin up. "We've decided to reclaim it for community use. You can't just buy our lake." You ever get hit with a sentence so dumb it stings a little? That's how it felt. And those guys behind her, nodding like they were auditioning for cops, HOA edition. So I stepped closer, kept my voice calm. "Show me your warrant, your HOA papers, anything real." One of the fakes reached for his badge, but I cut him off. "You sure you want to finish that sentence?" And I let my voice drop. "Karen." Yeah, that's what I called her in my head. Finally noticed I wasn't scared. There's a certain peace that comes from knowing you're not in the wrong. You know what I mean? Even with the sound of the lake behind me and the sun sparkling off the boats, the tension felt thick enough to snap. Then she hits me with this. "If you don't leave by tonight, we'll have this place demolished. You think you can hide behind your paperwork? We own this community." I just smiled, finally. "You might want to check your facts before making threats. Because this lake, it's not under your name anymore." And just like that, her face went tight. Before she could fire back, a little click sounded from behind me. My security cameras. Been rolling since they pulled up, recording everything, and I had already sent the feed to the county sheriff's office. Karen caught on for a split second, looked pale, but hit it with a phony laugh. "You think some cheap cameras will save you?" she spat. The two fake cops traded a look. They weren't quite as sure of themselves now. I wandered over to my truck, pretended to check my phone. But honestly, I was just making sure the sheriff was getting a live show. Karen kept running her mouth, blaming people like me for ruining the community, tearing down nature, acting like a hero. I turned and told her, "Funny, because when I bought this place it was just a pile of rotten wood and beer cans. Your HOA never cared." The guys behind her started fidgeting, wondering if they'd picked the wrong side. Then Karen whipped out a crumpled paper, said it was an HOA notice signed and sealed. I took it, didn't even ask, unfolded it, and honestly, it was a joke. Blurry logo, wrong address, signature of a guy who'd been dead 3 years, whose name I'd just seen on the actual deed when I bought the place. "You forged this," I said, soft and steady. For a split second, panic flashed in her eyes, but she just laughed, way too loud. "Prove it," she snapped. "Oh, I will. And when I do, I'll make sure the real cops see it before you go around destroying homes." That got her close, nearly nose to nose. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," she hissed. "Neither do you." I shot back. She stormed off, shouting for the fake cops, but before she sped off, she leaned out and hissed, "Enjoy your little cabin while it lasts. Tomorrow it won't be here." That stuck with me. Reminded me of threats I'd heard overseas, before things really got ugly. That night I couldn't sleep, every little noise making me sit up. The wind, a creak, the distant hum of a boat. I walked outside, air sharp and cold, the moon splashing silver on the lake, and I promised myself I wasn't letting anyone take this from me. 3 in the morning, my phone buzzed, motion alert. Headlights creeping up my driveway, truck lights cut, 3 figures slipping out. Karen, and 2 guys carrying heavy tools. "You sure about this?" one whispered. "What if someone sees?" Karen was ice cold. "We'll say he was trespassing. Once this place is gone, it's our word against his." I stayed low, phone streaming the whole thing, while I slipped out the back, circling through the trees for a better look. They cut the power, thinking it would kill my cameras. Joke's on them. I had solar backup. Karen marched up to the porch, flashlight in hand. Take this part down first, she ordered. We'll say it was unsafe. That's when I stepped out of the shadows. Unsafe. I boomed, and they froze like deer. Karen spun around, face white. You shouldn't be here, she stammered. Oh, I live here. But you? You're trespassing, and you just committed attempted vandalism on a property protected by a federal veteran housing grant. That stopped one guy cold. He dropped his crowbar. Veteran housing? He muttered. Karen tried to bluff. You're lying. I pulled up the paperwork on my phone. Call it what you want. But this is federal jurisdiction. Walk away, or it's on you. She didn't get the chance. Red and blue lights lit up the woods behind us, real sheriff's trucks. Karen tried to bolt, but deputies were already out, flashlights sweeping, voices commanding. Her henchmen surrendered fast. Karen tried to play innocent, thanking the officers, claiming they were just inspecting for safety. The sheriff looked at the cut wires, broken fence, her SUV half on my lawn, then turned to me. You the owner? Yes, sir. I handed over my deed, ID, everything in order. He barely glanced at Karen. Ma'am, there's no HOA jurisdiction over federal veteran housing. This land was released from private control 10 years ago. She went red, tried to argue, but the sheriff cut her off. You brought fake officers to his property earlier. Now you're here again. That's not a safety inspection. She realized she was caught, spat at me. You set me up. But I just shook my head. No. You set yourself up when you thought you could take what wasn't yours. The deputies cuffed her, read her rights. She screamed about running the neighborhood, but nobody listened. The sheriff, return my deed, told me. You handled this well. Most people don't keep their cool. I just shrugged. I've been through worse. He nodded at my cabin. Beautiful work. Some people just can't stand to see others build something real. He was right. As they drove off, lights flickering over the water, I thought maybe, just maybe, it was over. For the first time in weeks, sunrise felt peaceful. But with Karen, peace never sticks. By noon, my phone rang, block number. Enjoying your victory? She hissed. She wasn't done. You embarrassed me, but you don't know how deep this goes. The board's filing an injunction. You'll be buried in legal fees before summer's over. I hung up, heart pounding. She wasn't bluffing. These HOA folks had money and friends in high places. That night, a letter was taped to my gate. Notice of violation. Unauthorized construction near protected wetlands. I laughed. There were no wetlands, just a man-made lake. But the letter was official, too clean, too precise. Something was off. So I called Tyler, a buddy at the county records office. He checked, then paused. That's weird. A new property map was filed yesterday, shows your cabin inside HOA land. My stomach dropped. That's impossible, I said. I checked those lines myself. Tyler went quiet. Someone forged the update, used the county seal, and it was signed by Karen's brother. Now I knew this was bigger than HOA nonsense. It was war. Next morning, I marched into the county office, fake map in hand, walked straight up to Karen's brother's desk. You can't be in here, he snapped, sweating. Relax, I said, laying the forgery down. I just came to return your little gift. He blustered, but I pulled out my phone, showed him the digital logs. Sheriff's confirmation, and, just for good measure, footage of Karen's SUV pulling up to his house. Just stamp it, Rick. Nobody checks these anyway. His face went white. Before he could blink, 2 county investigators walked in, thanks to Tyler, who'd already sent the files. By noon, Karen and her brother were both facing charges: fraud, forgery, attempted property theft. When I got back to the lake, the air felt lighter. The cabin wasn't just a house now, it was proof. Sitting on the dock, I watched the sun dance on the water, thought about everything. Fake cops, midnight threats, forged documents. Karen tried to break me, but her own arrogance finished her off. The sheriff showed up, handed me an envelope, official letter, sealed and signed. HOA was dissolved this morning. He said, state audit found enough fraud to shut it down for good. I looked out at the lake, my lake, and grinned. Guess justice finally found its way home. The sheriff nodded. You did good. Most would have walked away. I said, I didn't fight for this country just to have someone tell me where I can live. The security camera blinked, capturing the gold light, the quiet lake, and a man who didn't back down. Because freedom isn't given, it's defended. They tried to take my land, and in the end, lost everything. Now, I've told you my story, so what do you think? Was I right to stand my ground? Or do HOAs really keep communities safe? Drop your thoughts below, share your own stories, and tell me, when is enough enough?